A Boeing 747 with 524 people on board at 24,000 feet. The aircraft's tail suddenly separated mid-air. The flight crew lost all control and direction. There was no oxygen or air pressure in the cabin. Yet, they managed to keep the aircraft flying for 45 minutes. This is a story of human courage, engineering failure, and a flight that had no real control. The flight was Japan Airlines Flight 123. Welcome back to another video, dear viewers. On August 12, 1985, Japan Airlines Boeing 747 was stationed at Tokyo's Haneda Airport, deboarding passengers. Exactly 1 hour later, it was scheduled to take off again for Osaka. Thousands of people traveled daily between Tokyo and Osaka, but today was exceptionally busy due to Japan's holiday season, Obon, with people heading to their hometowns. After cleaning the aircraft, 509 passengers and 15 crew members boarded Flight 123. For the crew, it was just a routine flight, but the passengers were unaware that the aircraft had a long-standing, hidden flaw, a catastrophic weakness that neither the pilots nor the flight engineer knew about. Due to the busy schedule, this would be the 6th flight of the day for this particular Boeing 747. Talking about the cockpit crew, Captain Masami Takahama, 49 years old, led the flight with 12,000 hours of flying experience. First Officer Yutaka Sasaki, 39 years old, was in the final stages of his promotion to captain, with 3,900 hours of experience. Flight engineer Hiroshi Fukuda, 46 years old, was responsible for monitoring the aircraft's technical operations. Given the qualifications of the crew, it was fair to say the passengers were in very capable hands, but whether the aircraft itself was safe remained to be seen. At 6:04 p.m., the doors were closed, and the pilots taxied the aircraft to runway 15L. The Tokyo to Osaka flight was supposed to be short, just 1 hour and 12 minutes. The weather in Tokyo was clear, but Japan was experiencing several thunderstorms that day. Thus the pilots were advised to take a route over the ocean instead of directly to Osaka. At 6:12 p.m., after clearance from the control tower, Flight 123 took off smoothly. Everything was normal until 12 minutes after takeoff. Over Sagami Bay, a loud, mysterious noise was heard inside the plane, and a hole suddenly formed near the tail section. Passengers who were moments ago excited to go home were suddenly gripped with terror. The noise and sudden decompression caused loose items to fly toward the hole. The event happened so fast that it was difficult to grasp what had happened. The loud sound was recorded even in the cockpit voice recorder. As an aircraft ascends, the outside air becomes thinner, and oxygen levels drop. To counter this, the cabin is artificially pressurized to near sea-level conditions. A loss of pressurization due to a rupture could cause severe health problems for passengers, including unconsciousness. And that's exactly what happened. However, initially the pilots thought it might be a minor issue. Perhaps a landing gear door failure or an engine problem, as heard in cockpit recordings. The reality, the entire tail section of the fuselage had torn off, taking the rudder with it. The rudder controls yaw movement, left-right nose direction, critical for stable flight. Without a rudder, the plane would struggle to turn properly, align with the runway, or even maintain balance. Worse, The pilots had no idea the rudder was gone. The aircraft started to sway uncontrollably beyond the capabilities of the autopilot. A person on the ground noticed the plane's abnormal movement and captured a photo, clearly showing the missing rudder. The cabin crew, meanwhile, instructed passengers to stay seated with seat belts fastened. Realizing something was seriously wrong, the captain set the transponder to frequency 703, a universal distress signal. He declared an emergency to Air Traffic Control, ATC, and requested permission to return to Tokyo. ATC approved a 90-degree right turn for landing. When the first officer attempted the turn, the plane banked far more steeply than intended. Despite frantic efforts, the aircraft didn't respond properly to control inputs. Then the flight engineer noticed hydraulic pressure was dropping and soon hit zero. Without hydraulic systems, all control surfaces, ailerons, elevators, rudders, flaps, became useless. The crew realized that they had no mechanical control left. The aircraft, at 24,000 feet, faced multiple crises: loss of cabin pressure, no hydraulic control, hypoxia, oxygen deprivation, symptoms in passengers and crew. Despite all this, the crew attempted to manage the plane using only engine thrust. Increasing power on the left engines caused right turns. Increasing power on the right engines caused left turns. By balancing thrust carefully, they tried to stabilize the rolling motion. Using this desperate method, they succeeded in bringing the aircraft down to 13,500 feet, improving cabin pressure and oxygen levels. But now they faced a new danger. At lower altitudes, they were over mountainous terrain. At 6:48 p.m., the captain shouted warnings to the first officer about an approaching mountain. They tried to maneuver using only engine thrust, but it was nearly impossible. At 6:56 p.m., Flight 123 crashed into a mountain during an uncontrolled turn. Tragically, only 4 people survived. They were seated in the center-left section of the cabin. Everyone else, all 520 passengers and crew, perished. The investigation revealed, 7 years earlier, the same aircraft had suffered a minor tail strike during landing. Boeing technicians repaired the tail improperly, incorrectly installing the splice plate. This faulty repair could only withstand about 11,000 pressurization cycles, but Flight 123 had completed over 12,500 cycles. On that day, the stress finally exceeded the limit. Simulations proved. Even in flight simulators, trained pilots couldn't keep the aircraft flying as long as the real Flight 123 crew did. Despite knowing the exact problem beforehand and being in no real danger, this speaks volumes about the incredible efforts of the Japan Airlines Flight 123 crew, who fought to keep the plane aloft for 45 minutes, despite impossible odds. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, don't forget to like, share, and comment. Thank you for your love and support. See you in the next amazing video.